Hello and welcome to Guildford Property Conversation. My name's Charity Holden. I'm the partner and business owner of Seymours in Guildford. I've spent the last 25 years working in the property industry. These conversations will hopefully give our audience an insight into the Guildford property market. I'm going to be leaning on guests who are influential within the sphere, and today I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Marcus Cadman, a true Guildford property expert. Marcus spent 27 years as an estate agent and jumped ship over to the other side, to the dark side, and is now a surveyor, working with clients and buyers who are on their own property journey on a slightly different side, would you say?
Yes, I suppose I try to bring in some of my past agency experience, but generally I'm there to help guide them through that purchase, much as I was when I was an agent, but yeah, with a different hat on.
A bit more of a technical hat, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So today, Marcus and I are going to try and unpick the headlines. And by that, I mean, there's a lot of noise around at the moment about where the property market is, locally, nationally. And we thought it would be useful to sit down with two property professionals to really understand whether it's as bad as perhaps the press is purporting, or what buyers and sellers can do to perhaps keep ahead of what is a slightly challenging market time. So, Marcus, my first question to you, in valuing properties, what are those valuations telling you about where the market is currently?
Well, what I've seen is when you take into account the guide price that's being quoted, in a lot of cases, it's less than the guide. But there is a disparity in that the older stock that was perhaps launched earlier in the year, that's where you're seeing the differences in the guides that were quoted to the prices that have been accepted, whereas the more recent stock, I think, is adjusted to the market conditions, and there is more achieving closer to guide, if not guide, in many cases.
So do you put that down to, call me skeptical, do you put that down to agents going out and perhaps overvaluing stuff at the beginning of the year, keen to take on properties, or do you actually think that we've seen a fall in market conditions?
I think off the back of the autumn that we had last year, I think it definitely was a case of trying to achieve market share, get properties on the market, and yeah, I suppose we never quite know how the year is going to start off. And then, though, I think people quickly got a bit caught out and had to react, which leads to prices perceiving to come down, but actually they're just finding their right level.
And do you think any of that was influenced by the Treasury's introduction of a mansion tax in the last budget? Obviously, back in the last budget, it was suggested that by 2027, everybody who owns a property over £2 million will be taxed an additional amount for living in that property. So do you think that the higher end of the market, of which Guildford, there are quite a lot of properties, don't we? Yeah. Do you think that's had a factor in terms of the market?
From what I've seen, no, I don't think it has. I don't think, if it has, it's been a very small one. So no, I don't think that's been a factor really.
Okay. No. And when you look at the changes in market conditions, you know Guildford inside and out. You've worked as an agent for many, many years. You now got a different hat on, so you're out working with clients who have agreed to move forward with a purchase. Do you think that those that perhaps had a sale agreed at the beginning of this year are now looking for a renegotiation on prices if they're getting to that point where they haven't actually exchanged contracts? Is that something you're seeing?
No, I mean, sometimes people have the idea that a survey can be used to alter price. But I think unless there's anything radical in the survey, generally people will stick to, what they've agreed. I would say I haven't seen any renegotiations unless there's been a problem that will affect any ongoing sale, essentially.
Fine.
Yeah.
So if you had a seller in front of you and they're just about to embark on getting their property ready for sale, as a surveyor, I'm not suggesting that people have pots of money and can go and right terrible wrongs that properties may have. But what do you think are the biggest things that buyers are concerned about when they sit and read through a survey report that you've prepared?
It's the big ticket items, roofs, chimneys, condensation also, actually, whilst that might not be perceived as a big ticket item, condensation and lack of, and what that can do with sort of mold and things like that. That's a very topical point at the moment. From a seller, I think it's about being prepared, isn't it? You as agents as well, we try to instill in our sellers, be prepared as much as you can, instruct your lawyer early. And I think from a surveying point of view, it's get your boilers serviced, make sure you've got the certification for the extensions, get a drains test, just sort of basic things like that, that, once you've agreed to sale and the survey happens, it just helps push things on a little bit quicker.
Yeah. So obviously there are things that sellers can do to mitigate, maybe is too strong a word, but at least prepare the buyer and for what may come.
I think it's probably about building trust, isn't it? And from a buyer's perspective, if they see that being done, it helps them commit that much quicker, perhaps. It gives them confidence that the property's been well looked after, and it just makes for a much smoother transition towards exchange, which, as we all know, there can be times where it gets a little bit stressful over some reasons that aren't necessarily worth getting too vexed about. So the more that can be done, I think, up front will help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you touched on a word there that I think is that really resonates in the market today, which is commitment. I think there are a lot of people perhaps sitting on the fence, nervous about what is happening, perhaps geopolitically or even domestically, because there's a lot of flip-flopping around. But if you were a buyer, knowing the conditions as they are and having spent many, many years in Guildford, would you say now is a good time to be buying a property in and around Guildford?
Look, I think it's always a good time to buy a property in and around Guildford, quite frankly. Whatever's going on, the same reasons will always exist for why people want to move here. For the schooling, for that combination of town and country life, the schools, so there'll always be a time. It's about people naturally and understandably, because I suppose rates have gone up a little bit, are very price conscious, and so they want to feel that they're getting good value in essence. And whilst you perhaps don't know that until you come to sell again, but I don't think there's a bad time to buy. You just got to buy sensibly and at the right price. We always look quite short term, don't we? And I think if you look in a longer term, mid to long term, then there's no real problem with buying in Guildford.
Guildford's a fairly safe bet.
It's resilient.
It's resilient.
Yeah, it's resilient. And I think all those factors that I've just mentioned will always remain, and they will always be important to people.
I think as a buyer, if I was trading up, I would consider now, albeit maybe a little scary because rates have gone up, I'd consider now is a time to do it, because albeit I may be going up to the next level, if I can save the money because the market is slightly softer, then ultimately I'm going to be ahead.
You're getting a bigger percentage saving, aren't you?
Absolutely.
With by doing that in a softer market. But I think as well, we think perhaps the way we talk doesn't always help, but is perhaps that it's not always an investment necessarily. It's a house.
Yeah, it's your home, isn't it?
So you've got to also take that into consideration, that actually, fine, you might feel a bit uncomfortable maybe with what you're paying or what your mortgage is or what have you, but as long as your family is settled and happy, then that's got to be the best.
And that human side of thing, I think, is of greater importance, whether you're upsizing because you've had another baby or you're downsizing because you want a simpler life and no stairs because you can't get up and down anymore. Those are the things that truly matter. And appreciate the noise outside can sometimes be quite deafening.
Yes.
But if moving today is the right thing for you and your family,
Yeah. You
then
get on and do it.
you got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all I'd like to say is thank you, Marcus, for joining us on our very first podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
We'll have you back at another time, hopefully when the market's going up and we can talk about that. But it's really useful just to understand how you perceive the market and perhaps give an insight to those people who are unsure about moving, to give them the confidence that actually it's stronger than you might think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. Certainly from the diary that I've got, I'm busy. I know agents are saying it's hard, but I think deals are being done, and long may that continue.
Good. Well, as I say, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us as well.